Hello. This is my Mastery Journal reflection for my Multimedia Development and Editing course. In terms of my expectations of the course, I was definitely, expecting, of course, a bit of more of an upgrade since this was, of course, the first course in terms of the actual real stuff when it comes to the course being a massive challenge and also it being, of course, something obviously of course where of course I had to actually go out and do stuff when it comes to you know get, creating journalistic content and whatnot, and the course met my expectations by it being a bit of a bit of a grueling challenge, I guess, week by week, but I was able to figure stuff out. I was able to connect myself and think, what can I do? Well, where can I go to potentially do these stories? And for me, I found a very comfortable and good place, and that being, of course, two of my stories done this month. Uh, at my alma mater, Concordia University, Irvine, where I got my bachelor's degree in communication studies. I think we still had some familiarity with, of course, some people there, and I was able to ended up getting conducting a couple interviews with a couple of people who still are at Concordia, and I ended up, relying on that quite a bit for my content. And I don't want to say that's a sign of weakness, but it's definitely a sign of, relying on, a source, and it's usually something done by, prospective young journalists that they rely on what they know. They don't want to stray too far away from what they don't know, and they might swing a bit too far much for the fences and strike out. And that's what I did for one of my stories in a previous class, so I learned from that lesson. In terms of the assignment that I learned the most from, it would definitely have to be the podcast episode. The podcast episode was definitely the podcast assignment for the podcast episode that I did. It was a bit of a, challenging assignment. It wasn't challenging reaching out to the person who I wanted to interview, but the challenge came in having to do the podcast interview with him a second time because the first time I thought that, I ended up, recording it via a recording app. So I sent it to record it via a recording app on my computer. Well, the recording app captured what I was saying on my end, but didn't capture what he was saying. So I ended up, doing the podcast on Zoom. Well, obviously, I wanted to make it be as convenient as possible for myself and for my interview subject, since he's of course still a college student and I have to respect his schedule. So I ended up doing that. And in terms of, actually doing a podcast in the podcast room, I don't have any familiarity with that, and eventually I might want to do that in order to, be a bit of a better podcaster. So I did a Zoom, and obviously I recorded it the second time. I recorded it via my voice memo app on my phone, and I was like checking, is that all right? Is that a good thing to do? And I was like, yeah, as long as it's not like directly with the phone, so if you're not like calling the guy. So I ended up doing it via my voice memo app on my phone in terms of recording it. The second Zoom interview with the interview subject who thankfully obliged and gave me a second chance, and it definitely tested my mettle. It definitely, tested my patience. And when it came to, uploading, editing the podcast, it wasn't as hard as I thought, and yeah, so I would say that I learned the most from it in terms of being timely and, of course, having a good sound environment, having, of course, using the tools available to me to get it done. So I learned quite a great deal from that. And okay, so now moving on to personal and professional goals. In terms of what I think I wish I could have done better, I kind of wish that I could have, organized I don't want to say organize my time better, but basically organize the tools that I have in my, uh, that I have available to me a bit better. I did well with, getting myself familiarized with the Sony camera, which I used for the first time in the assignment. I had done a picture story in like 12 years with a camera, so I ended up having to readjust myself to that. And when it comes to there's like a microphone, lavalier microphone, and I was kind of confused about how that would, help or anything like that. And I just need to get better with knowing my technology better and just that I have available. And even though I feel like I'm very comfortable on computer when it comes to all this extra tech, I definitely have some work to do. And finally, for the last question, I would say that what I learned in this course that helped me prepare me for a potential career in journalism is that I learned that, deadlines matter and that sometimes we take these, weekly deadlines for granted. I've been in the couple journalism related classes before when it comes to bi-weekly deadlines. So basically doing it on a weekly basis is a bit of a, upgrade, but deadlines matter. That's what I, learned. And sometimes if I do indeed pursue a career in journalism, it's going to be a daily grind, at least when it comes to, being a digital journalist, uploading daily content, reaching out to people as soon as you can, not waiting, not sitting on something, just basically, you know, thinking about it, of course, beforehand, and then, with all the experience that I have, basically just do it. Just don't hesitate. Don't, just basically time management is, key in any job, and being a, potential journalist and whatnot, new media journalist, digital journalist, that is incredibly important to be very prompt in timely. So yeah, that's what I say I've learned. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.